My name is Ava Mercer, and I was supposed to be induced the next morning. My hospital bag was already by the front door. The car seat had finally been installed after I had asked for 2 weeks. The tiny white hat with blue stars was tucked into the side pocket of my bag because my mother had knitted it and said every baby deserved to come home under something made with love. I thought the next time I left that house, my husband would be beside me. I thought he would carry the bag, open the passenger door, hold my hand through contractions, and maybe finally become the man he kept promising he would be once the baby arrived. Instead, I stood barefoot in our driveway with amniotic fluid running down my legs while my husband zipped his suitcase and told me not to make him miss boarding. His parents were waiting at the cruise terminal. Their 10-day anniversary cruise had been booked for months, and apparently that mattered more than his wife going into labor one day before a scheduled induction. I said, "Nolan, my water just broke." He looked at the wet concrete, then at the passenger seat of his SUV, then at his watch. For 1 second, I saw panic in his face and thought finally he understood. Then his phone buzzed, his mother. He read the message, cursed under his breath, and said, "Ava, call an ambulance if you're worried. The tickets are already paid." I stared at him, not because I did not hear him, because I did. He added, "You'll be at the hospital either way. I'd only be standing around doing nothing. Don't turn this into a test." A contraction tightened low across my stomach. I reached for the open car door. He stepped between me and the seat. "Wait," he said, looking at my soaked leggings. "Put a towel down first. I just had the leather cleaned." That was the moment something inside me stopped begging. Not broke, stopped. I backed away from the SUV, one hand pressed under my belly, and watched the man who had posted weekly photos about becoming a father choose a cruise ship over his child's birth. Nolan shut the trunk. He looked annoyed now, like my body had embarrassed him in front of the neighborhood. "Text me when you get admitted," he said. "And please don't start drama with my parents. Mom has been looking forward to this trip all year." Then he drove away. I did not chase him. I did not scream. I did not throw my phone at the back window. I just stood there shaking, listening to the engine fade, with the baby shifting inside me and the front porch camera blinking quietly above the door. What Nolan did not know was that the camera was not just a camera. It was a prototype from his own company. A baby safety home monitor he had installed 2 weeks earlier to impress his boss before a national product launch. It recorded motion, it recorded audio. And because he had bragged that his house was the perfect real family beta test, the footage automatically uploaded to the company's safety review dashboard when it detected the words "water broke," "hospital," and "ambulance." By the next morning, when Nolan called me from his parents' cruise cabin, he was not asking whether our son was alive. He was asking why his promotion had been frozen, why his father was screaming at him, and why the board chair had just seen him abandon his laboring wife on camera. Before I tell you what I said to him, you need to understand that Nolan Reed did not become selfish in the driveway. The driveway only made it impossible to pretend. In public, Nolan knew exactly how to look like a good man. He worked as senior brand director for CradleNest, a company that sold smart baby monitors, child-proof locks, nursery cameras, safety gates, and expensive promises to nervous parents. Their slogan was everywhere, "Because family comes first." Nolan said those words on panels. He said them in launch videos. He said them to retail partners while standing in front of pictures of sleeping infants and smiling mothers. People believed him. I believed him longer than anyone. At baby showers, he put one hand on my back and told people he could not wait to be a father. He posted ultrasound pictures with captions about blessings and responsibility. He told my coworkers that he was installing every safety product himself because a dad protects his home. Then we would get home, and he would leave boxes unopened in the hallway for me to step around. He loved the image of preparation. He hated the work of it. I was 31 and 38 weeks pregnant with our first child. My blood pressure had been creeping high, my feet were swollen, and my doctor had scheduled an induction for Monday morning to be safe. Nolan knew that. His parents knew that, everyone knew that, but his parents' cruise left on Sunday, and in the Reed family, his parents' plans were treated like weather systems. You did not question them, you adjusted around them. His mother Patrice had a soft voice and hard expectations. She never directly said I was difficult. She said I was very sensitive. She never directly said I was trapping her son. She said motherhood could make some women clingy. She never directly said Nolan should still go on the cruise. She said men needed one last breath before fatherhood. His father, Howard, was worse because he did not bother dressing cruelty as concern. He owned a small packaging company that had recently landed a potential contract with CradleNest. That was one of the reasons the cruise mattered so much. Nolan had been trying to connect Howard with CradleNest executives for months, and 2 board members were also booked on the same cruise for what Nolan called informal relationship building. Relationship building, that phrase became the excuse for everything. When I said, "My induction is Monday," Nolan said, "The ship gets back in 10 days. You and the baby will still be here." When I said, "What if I go into labor early?" he said, "First babies take forever." When I said, "I'm scared," he said, "That's exactly why I need a break before everything becomes panic." Everything, me, our baby, his new life, it was all an inconvenience waiting to happen. The Saturday before the cruise, I made one last attempt. I was sitting at the kitchen table folding tiny onesies while Nolan tested the CradleNest prototype app on his phone. He had installed a front porch camera, a nursery monitor, and a hallway sensor. Not because I asked, because his boss wanted real home footage of the product detecting emergency phrases, motion patterns, and caregiver responses. "Imagine the launch video," Nolan said, smiling at his screen. "Real family, real nursery, real safety." I looked down at my belly, "Then be a real family and stay home." His smile disappeared. "Ava, my induction is in 36 hours. You keep saying that like I forgot. You're acting like it doesn't matter." He tossed his phone onto the table. "Because I've planned around everything you wanted for months. Doctor appointments, classes, nursery stuff, your mother visiting, your anxiety. Can I not have one thing?" I stared at him. "One thing? Yes. One thing before my whole life becomes diapers and schedules and you telling me I'm doing everything wrong." I felt the baby kick once, slow and heavy. "Nolan, this is not a boys' weekend. This is your parents' luxury cruise one day before your wife gives birth." He leaned back. "You always frame things to make me sound bad." "No, I described them accurately." That made him angry. He went quiet, which was how he punished me when shouting might make him look like the wrong person. Later that night, Patrice called on speaker while Nolan packed resort shirts. "Ava, honey," she said, "try not to make Nolan feel guilty. Stress is not good for him before a major work opportunity." "For him?" I asked. "He is about to become a father, that is pressure." "I am about to give birth," she sighed. "Yes, and women have been doing that since the beginning of time." Howard shouted from the background, "Tell her hospitals have taxis." Nolan laughed, not hard, just enough. That little laugh stayed with me longer than the words, because laughter is agreement when the person laughing refuses to correct the cruelty. The next morning began with suitcase wheels scraping across hardwood. I woke at 6 with back pain that felt different from the usual ache. Lower, deeper, like a hand tightening from the inside. Nolan was already dressed in linen shorts and a blue polo with the CradleNest logo on the sleeve. "Family comes first." The words were stitched on the opposite side of his chest. I remember that detail because later, everyone noticed it in the footage. I sat up slowly. "Nolan, something feels wrong." He did not look at me right away. "Wrong how? Pressure? Cramping?" "I don't know." He checked his watch. "We need to leave for the terminal by 7:15. "We? I told you. I'm picking up my parents first." I stared at him. "You're still going?" He exhaled sharply. "Ava, please don't start this again. I am telling you my body feels different. And I am telling you to call the doctor if you're concerned. That's what doctors are for." He pulled his suitcase down the hall. I followed slowly, one hand on the wall. The hospital bag sat by the door beside the car seat base manual I had begged him to read. He had installed the seat the night before while watching a video at double speed and getting irritated every time I asked if the base was tight enough. I had rechecked it after he went to bed. It was not tight enough. I fixed it myself at midnight while breathing through hip pain and trying not to cry. In the driveway, Nolan loaded his suitcase into the SUV. He had 2 garment bags, golf shoes, a leather weekender, and a box of wine Patrice had asked him to bring because prices were ridiculous at the port. He had more luggage for 10 days of avoiding fatherhood than I had packed for giving birth. I stepped onto the driveway. "Nolan, please." He closed the trunk. "Please what?" "Stay until the baby is here." He looked toward the street like he hoped a neighbor was not listening. "Ava, I can't keep proving loyalty by canceling everything my parents care about. This is not about loyalty to them. It always is with you." My back seized. I gripped the side mirror, then warmth rushed down my legs. For 1 second I did not understand what had happened, then I looked down. "Nolan," I whispered. "My water broke." He stared, his face changed, fear first, then calculation, then irritation. That sequence told me more than any apology later ever could. I said louder, "My water broke." I need the hospital. His phone buzzed. He looked at it. Patrice again. He answered. I heard her voice through the speaker. Are you on your way? Your father is furious. We're already running late. Nolan looked at me, then turned slightly away. Ava's water broke. There was a silence, then Patrice said, well, first babies take hours. Drop her at the ER and come. Or call her an ambulance. The ship will not wait for one dramatic morning, I said. I can hear you. Patrice did not apologize. Nolan hung up and rubbed his forehead. Okay, think. I can call you a ride. You can drive me. The port is 40 minutes in the other direction. The hospital is 18 minutes away. If I miss boarding, Dad's meeting is gone. Our son is coming, he snapped then. Do you think I don't know that? I stopped, because the answer was obvious. Knowing is not the same as caring enough to act. I reached for the passenger door. He stepped in front of it. Wait, no, you're soaked. I am in labor. Just give me 1 second to get towels. But he did not go get towels. He stood there, looking at the seat, the driveway, his phone, me, the logo on his shirt, everything except the truth. Then he said it. Call an ambulance if you're worried. The tickets are already paid. The porch camera blinked. The hallway sensor inside had picked up the raised voices. The safety dashboard at CradleNest logged the audio trigger. I did not know that yet. All I knew was that my husband had chosen, so I chose too. I backed away. Go, I said. He looked relieved. That hurt more than the contraction. He said, text me when you're admitted. Then he got into the SUV and drove away. 2 houses down, our neighbor Lila Park opened her front door. Leela was in her late 50s. A retired emergency nurse with short gray hair and the kind of calm that made you feel less alone just by standing near her. She had brought soup twice that month and told me to call if I needed anything. I had always been too polite to need too much. That morning, politeness left with Nolan's SUV. Leela ran down the sidewalk before I even dialed. I saw him leave, she said. Tell me what happened. My water broke. Hospital. Now. She wrapped a towel around my waist, got my hospital bag, locked my front door, and helped me into her car like she had been waiting for the world to make sense. In the passenger seat, I started crying, not loud, not dramatic, just tears sliding down my face while contractions came closer together. Lila put one hand briefly over mine at a red light. Sweetheart, she said, some men don't fail because they panic. They fail because they finally get a chance to show what they value. At Rosehaven Medical Center, the intake nurse asked if my husband was parking. I looked at Lila, then I said, my support person is here. The nurse's eyes softened. Any visitors restricted? I almost said no. Old habits are strong. Then my phone buzzed. Nolan. Mom says you should not call your parents until you know it's real labor. Don't make everyone panic. My water had broken in the driveway. He had driven away, and he still wanted to manage the audience. I looked at the nurse. My husband and his parents are not allowed in unless I say otherwise. She entered it into the chart. That click of the keyboard felt like a lock sliding into place. Labor moved faster than anyone expected. Because of my blood pressure and the baby's heart rate dipping twice, the calm in the room sharpened into action. Monitors, IV, oxygen. A doctor speaking clearly. Lila at my side, one hand on my shoulder, telling me where to focus. My mother arrived 3 hours later, hair unbrushed, eyes swollen from crying on the flight. My father came in behind her, and when he saw me, his face folded in on itself. I should have been there, he whispered. You came, I said. That was all that mattered. Nolan texted twice from the terminal. Boarding now, then night update, then nothing for 4 hours. My son was born at 3:42 p.m. He was small, loud, and furious. The nurse placed him on my chest, and the whole world narrowed to a warm, slippery weight and one perfect cry. I named him Jonah Ellis Mercer. Ellis was my mother's maiden name. Mercer was mine. Nolan's last name was Reed. I had not planned to leave it out, not until the driveway, not until the SUV, not until the phrase non-refundable became the price tag on his absence. My mother heard the name and closed her eyes. My father nodded once, like something had been decided that needed no explanation. By the time I was moved to recovery, my phone had started vibrating again, not with concern, with panic. Nolan called 5 times in a row. I ignored the first 4. On the 5th, Lila said, you don't have to answer. I know, but I did. Because I wanted to hear the first question. I wanted to know whether there was any version of him left that might ask about our son before himself. His voice came through sharp and breathless. Ava, what the hell is happening? Why is my boss calling me? Why did Dad say Howard's contract is on hold? Why is there a clip from our porch in the safety channel? I looked at Jonah sleeping against my mother's chest. Not one question. Not is he okay? Not are you okay? Not what time was he born? Not can I come home? I felt the last thread break quietly. I said, "Congratulations, Nolan. Your product worked." Then I hung up. The footage did not spread because I posted it. I want that clear. I did not give birth and decide to become a public scandal. The footage first went to CradleNest because Nolan's prototype system had done exactly what it was designed to do. It detected an emergency phrase, matched it with distress tones, and uploaded a clip to the internal safety review channel for product testing. The review team saw a pregnant woman in labor. They saw her husband in a CradleNest polo. They heard him say, "Call an ambulance if you're worried. The tickets are already paid." They saw him block the passenger seat because of the leather. They saw him drive away. At first, nobody knew what to do with it. Then one of the safety engineers recognized Nolan. Within an hour, the clip had reached human resources, legal, the product lead, and the executive sponsoring the Family First launch. By evening, the board chair had seen it. By night, Howard's packaging contract was paused pending review because his company had been folded into Nolan's internal recommendation as a family values partner. By morning, Nolan's promotion to Vice President of Brand Integrity had been frozen. Vice President of Brand Integrity. Sometimes life writes its own punchlines and does not ask if they are too cruel. Patrice called my mother first, not me. My mother answered on speaker while I held Jonah. Patrice was crying, not because her grandson had been born without his father, because people on the ship were whispering. "I need Ava to understand this is a misunderstanding," Patrice said. Nolan was under pressure. We all were. My mother looked at me. I shook my head. My mother said my daughter was in labor in a driveway while your son protected leather seats. Patrice gasped. That is a hateful way to describe a complicated situation. My father leaned toward the phone. It is the accurate way. Then he ended the call. I had never loved him more. The next day, Nolan flew back, not immediately after Jonah was born, not after hearing the birth time. After CradleNest told him he was being placed on administrative leave. That was the difference. He came to the hospital with red eyes, a wrinkled shirt, and a gift shop teddy bear. Hospital security stopped him at the desk. He called me 12 times from the lobby. Then he texted, "I'm here. Don't do this." I'm his father. I replied through the hospital app because I wanted a record. You may request visitation through my attorney after discharge. I am recovering and will not see you today. He wrote, "You are being cruel." I stared at that word. Cruel. The man who drove away from his laboring wife had found cruelty in a locked hospital door. I saved the message. My attorney, Dana Bell, arrived the next morning. She was a family lawyer Lila recommended, and she looked at me with the kind of directness that made denial feel pointless. "Do you want to reconcile?" she asked. I looked at Jonah. "No. Do you want safety, custody, and clean communication?" "Yes, good." Then we build the file. The file built itself quickly: the porch footage, the prototype upload log, hospital records, the visitor restriction, Nolan's texts, Patrice's voicemail saying I should not embarrass the family, Howard's message to my father calling childbirth women's logistics, Nolan's call transcript from the recorded line at CradleNest, where he told his boss the clip was taken out of context and that I had a history of emotional escalation. Dana smiled when she heard that. "Men like him always add frosting to the cake," she said. "What does that mean?" "They don't just make the mistake. They decorate it with lies afterward." Judges notice frosting. The public reveal came 2 weeks later at CradleNest headquarters. I did not attend in person. I was home with Jonah, wearing sweatpants, leaking milk, and learning that newborns consider sleep a rumor. But Dana attended as my representative because the company requested my formal permission to use the footage internally during its investigation and leadership ethics review. I gave permission with conditions. My address blurred, Jonah's medical details withheld, no public release from me, no use in marketing, no naming me in company statements. CradleNest agreed. Nolan had to sit in a conference room with HR, legal, the board chair, his direct supervisor, and his father on video because Howard's contract was tied to the investigation. Patrice was not invited. She came anyway and waited in the lobby until security asked her to leave. Donna told me later exactly what happened. First, Nolan tried remorse. He said he was overwhelmed. He said first babies usually take time. He said he thought an ambulance would be safer. Then HR played the clip, not the whole thing, just the line. "Call an ambulance if you're worried. The tickets are already paid." Then the part where he blocked me from the passenger seat. "Put a towel down first, I just had the leather cleaned." Then his final text, "Please do not start drama with my parents." The room went silent. Nolan said, "That looks bad." The board chair, A woman named Evelyn Shaw said, "It does not look bad. It is bad." Then they played his internal launch presentation recorded 3 days earlier, Nolan standing in front of the CradleNest logo, smiling. "When families are vulnerable," he said on the screen, "they need technology that alerts the right people when care fails." Dana said nobody moved after that. Care fails. His own words walked into the room and sat beside him. Howard tried to intervene from the video screen. "My son's marriage is not relevant to my company's contract." Evelyn Shaw turned toward the screen. "Your son recommended your company as a values-aligned partner, while actively concealing a personal incident that created material reputational risk tied to the product launch." Howard said, "This is ridiculous." Evelyn replied, "No, Mr. Reed, it is documented." That word became the hammer, documented. The contract was canceled. Nolan's promotion was withdrawn. Then his employment ended under a negotiated separation for conduct inconsistent with brand leadership and misuse of beta test protocols. He later told people, "I cost him his job, but I did not install the camera, he did. I did not choose the slogan, he did. I did not say family comes first while driving away from mine, he did." The divorce was not dramatic because Dana refused to let it become theater. She filed for separation, primary custody, child support, exclusive use of the house until sale, and a communication order requiring everything to go through a parenting app. Nolan objected to supervised visits. Dana asked how many prenatal appointments he had attended in the last trimester. 2. She asked who installed the car seat correctly. "Me." She asked what time Jonah was born. He guessed wrong. The judge did not miss that. Nolan got supervised visitation at a family center with a path to expand after parenting classes, counseling, and consistent support payments. He called that humiliating. "I called it safe." Patry sent one long email titled "A Grandmother's Pain." Dana read it first. She said, "It is 90% guilt and 10% legal risk." I read only one sentence. "Ava, one day you will understand that a man needs space before becoming a father." I wrote back one sentence through Dana. "A baby needs safety before a man needs space." Then I blocked her. Howard tried to salvage his packaging company's reputation by telling clients that Nolan's personal mistake had been exaggerated by modern internet outrage. Unfortunately for Howard, CradleNest's contract cancellation became known in their business circle. Not the video, not my name. Just enough contract paused after leadership ethics review, then canceled reputational concerns. Those phrases do quiet damage. Howard's company lost 2 more bids that year. Patry stopped posting cruise photos. The anniversary trip they chose over Jonah became a family joke online after someone on the ship recognized Nolan from the internal rumor and posted vaguely about the non-refundable dad. I never confirmed it. I never had to. That was another lesson. You do not always have to chase consequences. Some people carry them home in their own luggage. The house sold 6 months later. I moved into a smaller townhouse near my parents and Lila, who became Jonah's honorary grandmother, whether she wanted the title or not. She did. She cried when I asked. I returned to work slowly as a project manager for a nonprofit that helped new parents access postpartum support. The irony was not lost on me. For the first time in years, my work felt connected to the life I was actually living. We helped parents find rides to appointments, lactation support, safe sleep supplies, emergency childcare, counseling, and sometimes just one person to answer the phone when everything felt impossible. Every time I approved a ride voucher for a pregnant woman, I thought of the driveway. Every time I saw a father sitting in a waiting room holding a hospital bag with both hands, I thought, that is what showing up looks like. Not perfect, not heroic. Present, Nolan did improve eventually. Not in the grand redemption way people like in stories. Real improvement is smaller and less cinematic. He completed parenting classes. He showed up to supervised visits. He learned how to hold Jonah without looking afraid of doing it wrong. He stopped sending messages through his mother. He apologized once in the parenting app, not for the job, not for the video, for the driveway. The message said, "I abandoned you when you were vulnerable." I have no defense for that. I read it 3 times. Then I closed the app. I did not respond for 2 days. Finally, I wrote, "Thank you for naming it correctly. That was all. Forgiveness is not a door people earn by finally saying the right sentence. Sometimes it is a fence you lower 1 inch so a child can have a safe relationship with a flawed parent, while you remain standing on your own side with the gate locked." Jonah is 2 now. He has Nolan's eyes and my stubborn mouth. He loves trucks, blueberries, and throwing socks into the bathtub. He knows his father as a man who visits on Saturdays, brings snacks, reads books badly, and follows the schedule because the custody app tells him to, and because he has learned that showing up is a verb. He knows Lila as Nana Lila. He knows my parents as the people who clap when he stacks blocks. He knows me as home. One day I will tell him more, not all of it, not while he is small, but enough. I will tell him that love is not proven by captions or slogans or family photos. I will tell him that responsibility is what you do when no one is applauding. I will tell him that if someone needs you and you can show up, you show up. And if you fail, you do not blame the person who needed you for making your failure visible. Have you ever watched someone reveal their real character the moment your need interrupted their comfort? If you have, then you know how shocking it feels at first. You replay it. You wonder if you asked too much. You wonder if the timing was unfair. You wonder if maybe you should forgive quickly just to make the story less painful. But sometimes the painful story is the true one. And once you know the truth, peace depends on not pretending you do not. Nolan thought the worst thing that could happen that morning was missing a cruise. He was wrong. The worst thing that happened was that his son's first story about him began with absence. The best thing that happened was that my son's first story about me began with protection. I did not chase the SUV. I did not beg a man to become decent in front of a camera he had installed. I called the person who came. I went to the hospital. I gave birth. I named my child. I answered the phone once and heard panic where love should have been. Then I hung up. My name is Ava Mercer. I was one day away from induction when my husband left me in labor for his parents' cruise. He said the tickets were paid. He said I could call an ambulance. He said not to start drama. But the camera on our porch heard everything. The company slogan on his shirt said family comes first. The footage showed everyone exactly what came first for him. And by the next morning, when he called asking what was happening, I finally understood something that saved me. I did not have to ruin his life. I only had to stop protecting the version of him that never existed.